You know that old saying, what you see is what you get? It sounds so simple, right? So direct. But here's the thing. What if I told you that when it comes to how we actually see the world, it's not really true at all? Let's get into it.
The truth is, what we think we see is, well, it's a mix of everything. It's colored by our expectations, our memories, even the mood we're in. What we perceive isn't just a raw video feed from our eyes. Nope, it's a full-on mental construction. Our brain is basically a storyteller, constantly trying to make sense of everything coming in. Okay, so take a look at this. What do you see? Go ahead, take a second. A duck, right? Most people see a duck at first. But what if I asked you, hey, what kind of mammal do you see? See, all of a sudden a bunny just pops into view? Just by giving you a little cue, a word like mammal or bird, I can literally change what you see. It's crazy how easily your brain can just flip between the two, isn't it? And that little illusion, it perfectly sets up the main idea for today. Seeing isn't just believing. It's way more complicated than that. Our eyes aren't just these passive cameras that record what's out there. Think about it this way. Your eyes, they're the cameras. They just collect the raw data, light, colors, shapes, all that stuff. But your brain is the supercomputer that does all the heavy lifting. It's the editor, the director. It takes all that raw footage and turns it into something meaningful. Without your brain's interpretation, your best friend's face would just be, I don't know, a bunch of weird shapes and colors. So what we truly see, that happens in the mind, not in the eye. Okay, so if our brain is doing all this work, how does it build the framework for it all? How does it make sense of this constant flood of data? Well, psychologists have a name for this. It's called your perceptual set. And this is the key to understanding why you and I can look at the exact same thing and see something totally different. Basically, your perceptual set is your mental programming. It's a predisposition to see things in a certain way. It's a whole collection of assumptions and tendencies that help you sort through all that sensory info super fast. You can think of it like a set of filters that all the data has to pass through before you really process it. And this is where it gets really mind-bending. Our beliefs and our expectations, they don't just react to what we see. They actively shape what we see. So in a very real way, believing is seeing. Your brain is always playing this matching game, trying to make what's coming in fit with what it already thinks is true. So what are these filters? Well, a few big things shape our perceptual set. There are our expectations, like when I told you to look for a bunny. Then there's context. I mean, if you saw that same duck bunny picture around Easter, you'd probably see the bunny right away, right? Culture plays a huge role too. And of course, our emotions and motivations. You know, studies have actually shown that a hill looks way steeper to people who are feeling tired or sad compared to people who are happy and energetic. Your feelings literally change the landscape. Okay, so our brain has these filters, but what happens next? How does it take all that filtered data and actually organize it into, stuff, objects we can recognize? How does it turn a chaotic mess of colors and lines into the face of a person you love? This is where form perception comes into play. One of the very first things your brain does is pull an object, what we call the figure, out from its surroundings, the ground. Check out this classic illusion. What do you see? Is it two faces looking at each other? Or is it a vase? Your brain just keeps flipping back and forth, right? It's trying to decide what's the main object and what's just the background. And believe it or not, this is happening all the time, every second, whether you're looking at art or just trying to find your keys on a messy table. And to handle really complex scenes, our minds use a few simple tricks. Rules of grouping. First, there's proximity. We automatically group things together that are close to each other. Makes sense. Then there's continuity. We like to see smooth, continuous patterns, not choppy, broken ones. And finally, there's closure. Our brains love to fill in the gaps to create a whole, complete object. We can't help it. These little rules are what help turn a chaotic scene, like a crowded party, into something organized with distinct groups of people and objects. All right, so our brain is a pro at organizing 2D shapes. But the world isn't flat, is it? So how on earth do we perceive depth? How do we see in 3D when the images hitting our retinas are completely, totally flat? This incredible magic trick is all thanks to something called depth perception. It's our ability to see the world in 3 dimensions, which lets us figure out how far away things are. And what's really amazing is that we're pretty much born with it. Even tiny babies have a sense of depth. It all relies on a cool set of visual cues. So our brain uses 2 kinds of cues to pull this off. First, you've got binocular cues. Bi means 2, so these require both of your eyes. Because your eyes are set a couple of inches apart, they each see a slightly different image of the world. Your brain is smart. It compares those two images. That difference is called retinal disparity, and it's fantastic for judging the distance of stuff that's pretty close to you. But for things farther away? For that, we rely on monocular cues. Mono for one. These work with just one eye. And you see these monocular cues everywhere once you start looking. For instance, relative size. If two objects are supposed to be the same size, the one that looks smaller, we just assume it's farther away. Then there's interposition, which is just a fancy word for overlap. If one thing is blocking your view of another, well, the one in front has to be closer. And of course, there's linear perspective. Think of a long, straight road, or train tracks. Those parallel lines look like they converge in the distance, right? That tells us about depth. Even texture gives us clues. The farther away something is, the smoother and less detailed it looks. Our brain has some simple tricks for motion, too. Basically, it works on this assumption. If an object is getting smaller in your vision, it's probably moving away. If it's getting bigger, it's coming at you. It's a pretty good rule of thumb, but it's also super easy to trick. That's why huge things, like an airplane in the sky, can look like they're moving incredibly slowly, even when they're going hundreds of miles an hour. Okay, so we've got all these mental shortcuts, illusions, filters, and interpretations going on all the time. It sounds kind of chaotic, right? So how do we manage to see the world as a stable, consistent place? How is everything not just a jumbled mess? Well, that brings us to our final and maybe most important concept. This amazing stability comes from something called perceptual constancy. It's our brain's ability to recognize objects and not get fooled by changes in distance or the viewing angle or even the lighting. Think about a door. You know a door is a rectangle, right? But you almost never see it as a perfect rectangle. You see it from an angle, making it a trapezoid, or from far away, making it tiny. The actual shape hitting your retina is constantly changing, but your brain doesn't care. It automatically adjusts and says, yep, that's a door. It keeps our world consistent. So here's the big takeaway. The best way to think about it is like this. Your senses, your eyes, your ears, all of them, they're out there just collecting the raw materials. They're gathering up all the individual Lego bricks. But it's your brain that's the master builder. It takes every single one of those pieces and actively builds your world, your reality. And that leaves us with a really powerful, maybe even unsettling question to think about. If your brain is the one constructing your reality, using your own unique expectations, emotions, and memories as the blueprint, then what kind of world are you building?